Let's go ahead now and install Android Studio for Linux. As was the case in the previous video, we're going to be using Ubuntu 14.04 again, but again the concepts will be applicable to most recent distributions or versions of Linux. So let's make a start on installing Android Studio on Linux. Okay, so I'm going to log into my account again, and this time I'm going to go to a web browser and I'm going to download Android Studio. I'm going to go to developer.android.com. I'll just maximize this screen and I'm going to scroll down to get the SDK. Click on download Android Studio. Now make sure you don't download the first section because that's the software development kit tools only. What you want to do is scroll down to all Android Studio packages, select the Linux option there, click it, scroll down, click on the checkbox to say you've read and agreed to the terms and conditions that we all read in detail, and I'm going to save that, which should go to my downloads folder. Once that's finished, I'm going to unzip that to my home folder and we'll continue the installation. Fairly sizable package, 233 megabytes, so it might take a while depending on the speed of your internet connection. You can see it's just about done now. Okay, so I'm going to go and navigate to the folder, the downloads folder, and I'm just going to double click that to unzip it. And I'm going to extract that. There's a bit of space here. I'm going to extract that to my home folder because what it will do is it'll create a subfolder anyway. Now you might want to put it in a /usr/local or some other folder, but for the purposes of doing this installation, I'm going to put it just on my home folder. So I'm going to click on extract now. I've selected home. Okay, and I'm going to close that. And again, if we have a look at our home folder now, we've now got an Android Studio folder, which is good, which is what we need. So next we need to open the command line again, and we need to navigate to the folder we just installed Android Studio in. So for me, that should be cd / and if I type AND, it gives me the directory Android-Studio. If I type pwd, you can see my folder that it's installed in is /home / my folder home directory Tim Bachowka / Android-Studio. That's the default. So I'm then going to do a change directory to a bin. If you do an ls, we can see that studio.sh is there, and that's the manual way to invoke Android Studio. So I'm going to do that by typing /. I'm going to type studio.sh, press enter. And it's asking, because it's the first time that we're running Android Studio, do we want to install or grab the settings from a previous installation? No, we don't. So we click on OK, or select OK. And we're going to let Android Studio do its thing this first time. Then what we're going to do is, after we've set it all up, we're going to close it down and we'll set up an icon, a desktop entry, so that you can invoke it from the without having to invoke it from the command line, which is a lot easier, obviously. Okay, so setup wizard. Now, firstly, you can see at the top it's saying there's a new version available. We're not going to bother with that at this time. You can do an upgrade as you would normally do one later. Click on next. I'm just going to choose the standard installation. You can go into custom if you want to and change what gets installed, but I'm just going to select everything essentially. That's fine. Click on next. And this is all the various tools and bits and pieces that it's going to install. Now you can always go back into SDK Manager later and modify this, but I'm just going to download everything for now by clicking on accept and finish. So I'm going to pause the video and come back when this is just about finished, and then we'll continue with the configuration and final setup of Android Studio. Okay, and we're back now, and you can see it's just finishing off the installation or the download, and once that's done, we'll finish off the configuration. Okay, so you can see it's finished. And it has got an error about a virtual device. That's probably because I'm running this installation of Linux on a Mac as a virtual sort of installation of Linux. So it's sort of running it over the top using software like VMware or Parallels. So we'll just ignore that particular error message. You probably won't get that. Click on Finish. Well, for the last thing, probably what I'm going to suggest we do is we'll close down Android Studio first. Then we're just going to start it again. So once that's closed down, I'm just going to press up arrow and press enter to start it again. Just want to make sure that it sort of read the latest settings and it was all sort of good to go. And then I'm going to click on and I'm just going to create a test project. So at this point you could just create the first sort of Hello World sort of test project in the course. I'm just doing this purely just to make sure things are working okay. And you can see I'm just selecting the default settings at this stage. I just want to make sure that it's all installed correctly. You can see it's still chugging away down the bottom of the screen. You can see it says indexing. So I'm just going to leave it be for a little while. And you can see now to the bottom right hand corner, it's saying 2 processes running. So it's just doing a little bit of an initial setup. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to close it down. Now I'm running this on the 64-bit version of Ubuntu, so you may not get this error message if you're running a 32-bit. But I think what we need to do, there's another step we need to do from the command line to get this to work. So I'm going to type in the commands to install that AAPT that we got an error with. So I'm going to do a sudo apt get install and try lib32stdc++6. Type in my password. I'll let it install. Again, this is only 64-bit, so the 32-bit you may not get that error. And in fact, if you're on another Linux distribution altogether, you may not get the error either. And once that's done, we've got one more. Okay, I'm going to type sudo apt-get install lib32z1 and we're done. So now that they're installed, let's just try running Android Studio one more time. I'm running the studio.sh file again and we'll just see whether we still get those errors. What we might do is just close that down, and now we're going to go into the build menu and just do a rebuild. We'll just see whether those errors are now fixed. So again, those last two statements that I typed in, only type those in if you did get an error. You saw those errors that came up on the screen. Now you can see that seems to have fixed the problem at this point now, and it looks like we're good to go. So that's how you go about installing Android Studio. Okay, at this point we're done and you can continue on with the course as per normal. And now what you can do, if you wanted to, you can go to the Tools menu and just to show you, and click on Android and click on SDK Manager. And that's the mechanism to make sure you're running the latest versions of things if you need to. And you can see we've pretty well got most of the things we need there, but if we wanted to install some other things we could. You can see it's wanting to install a lot of stuff, but frankly we don't need it at this stage. So that's good. I'll close that down. We don't need that. It's an Alt F4 to close that. And if you click on Tools and Android and AVD Manager, that's where we'd create an Android virtual device. But I'm not going to do that now. That's really quite a straightforward process. Refer to the other Android Studio videos in this course now that you've got the basic installation up and going. And that shows you how to create Android virtual devices and so on. Alright, hopefully that's given you a good intro and it works for you in your Linux distribution. As always, if there's any issues along the way, drop a discussion into the course and I'll do my best to help you out. One final thing is, if you don't want to run it from the command line all the time and you'd prefer to have an icon to start Android Studio, you can do that fairly simply. Just go to the Tools menu, click on Create Desktop Entry. It just says you can create a desktop entry for easier starting Android Studio from a system menu. So you can either select all users if you want everyone to benefit from that, or the users on this installation of Linux. In my case, I'm just doing it for my account. Click on OK. And you can see in the top right hand corner it says it's now there. You may now exit and start it again from the system menu. So by system menu they mean, I'll close this down. So you can see there's now an Android Studio menu option to start Android Studio again. And also you can drag that into this here if you want to do that as well, if you want to have a permanent way to access it. Okay, so that's it. That's installation of Android Studio on Linux.